All right, let's just jump right into one of the biggest, most mind-bending questions I've ever come across. What if the blueprint for all the complex life on Earth, including us, wasn't actually written here? What if it was delivered from the stars? And what if that ancient alien code is still inside of us, right now, just dormant? Yeah, let's get into this.
So to really get why this wild idea even exists, you've got to understand the mystery it's trying to solve. And it's a big one. See, when you really look at the history of life on this planet, there's this giant plot hole. The timeline just doesn't make sense.
Just look at the sheer contrast here. For 3 billion years, that's most of Earth's history, life was, well, kind of boring. We're talking microscopic slime and simple bacteria. That's it. Then bam, about 540 million years ago, in what is basically the blink of an eye in geological time, everything changes. All of a sudden, the fossil record is just packed with complex animals, creatures with eyes, brains, shells, legs. Every fundamental body plan that exists today appeared almost overnight. This is the Cambrian Explosion, and honestly, it's one of biology's greatest paradoxes.
And that gets us to the core of the problem. Darwinian evolution is supposed to be slow, right? It works by tiny, gradual changes over immense stretches of time. But the level of genetic information needed to build something as ridiculously complex as an eye or a brain from scratch, it's astronomical. The Cambrian explosion happened so fast that a lot of scientists are seriously questioning if there was mathematically enough time for it to happen the way we've always thought. It's like a writer spending 30 years just learning the alphabet and then suddenly writing every great novel in history in a single weekend. It just feels wrong.
But the timeline isn't even the only mystery. There's also this thing called the paradox of over-engineering. We've got organisms on Earth that have these insane superpowers they should never have evolved here. Take this bacteria, Deinococcus radiodurans. It can survive 5,000 grays of radiation. For perspective, that is 1,000 times what would kill a human. But the natural background radiation on Earth has never been high enough to justify that. So why would life evolve a super shield for a weapon that was never fired at it? Or think about tardigrades, the little water bears that can survive the vacuum of space. There's just no evolutionary pressure on Earth that would lead to that. It's like finding a polar bear perfectly adapted to live in a volcano. It's a clue that something else is going on.
So, you've got these two massive problems, an impossible timeline and impossible biology. How do you solve them? Well, this is where the Galactic Bootstrap hypothesis comes in, and it offers a pretty radical alternative. What if Earth didn't have to invent all this complex code from scratch? What if it just downloaded a software update?
The whole idea breaks down the origin of complex life into a 3-stage protocol, almost like installing a new program on your computer. Step 1, the universe provides all the basic hardware. Step 2, the planet assembles a really simple operating system, like a bootloader. And then, Step 3, the big one, is this incredibly rare Interstellar Service Pack that arrives from space carrying all the advanced code. Now, phase 1 isn't even really theory anymore. It's pretty much a fact. We know the basic Lego bricks of life, amino acids, nucleobases, all that stuff. They aren't special to Earth. They are being mass-produced out there in the freezing vacuum between stars. We've seen them in meteorites, like the famous Murchison meteorite. And Japan's Hayabusa 2 mission just found uracil, a key part of RNA, on an asteroid. The universe is literally seeding every new solar system with the raw materials for life. Okay, so you've got the parts raining down from space. How do you put them together? That's phase 2. The hypothesis points to a specific place: alkaline hydrothermal vents deep in the ocean. These aren't a primordial soup. They're more like a natural factory. Their porous structures act as tiny compartments, and the chemical difference between the vent fluid and the ocean water creates a natural energy source, like a tiny proton-powered battery. This process sucks in all those building blocks, concentrates them, and forces them to assemble into simple protocells. These are our ready receivers, a planet full of basic life that is ready and waiting for an upgrade.
Right, and this is the key. If phases 1 and 2 were common, and they probably are, then why isn't the galaxy crawling with complex life? Because phase 3 is the bottleneck. It's the cosmic lottery. This is the moment a comet or asteroid from another, much older solar system, one where complex life already evolved, happens to crash into our planet. This impact delivers the software update, the genetic instructions for things like eyes, limbs, and brains, to a world that's already primed and ready to install it. Earth wasn't special, it was just lucky.
But hang on, this whole idea hits a massive technical wall. We all know that DNA and RNA are incredibly fragile molecules. How in the world could they survive a journey of millions, maybe billions of years through the radiation-blasted vacuum of deep space?
And here is the proposed solution, and it is just brilliant. The theory says the message wasn't sent using DNA or RNA. It was sent using something else, peptide nucleic acid, or PNA. And just look at the difference. DNA's sugar phosphate backbone gets shredded by water and UV light. It's delicate, but PNA? Its backbone is made of this stuff called N-2-aminoethylglycine. It's this super tough peptide-like structure that makes it practically invincible. It's immune to breaking down in water, and it's incredibly resistant to heat and radiation. It's not the operating system, it's the perfect interstellar shipping container for the code.
So when a comet delivers this PNA to a world like early Earth, its sheer toughness allows it to take over. It can actually perform what's called a strand invasion, literally pushing aside the planet's weaker native RNA or DNA molecules and using itself as the dominant template to start building new proteins. It's the bootloader that forces the local system to install the new, complex software before the system eventually switches over to the more versatile DNA for day-to-day operations. Okay, so that could explain the Cambrian Explosion. But what about those over-engineered creatures, like our radiation-proof bacteria? This brings us to the second, and honestly, even crazier part of the idea, the Galactic Repository Hypothesis. It suggests the cosmic download wasn't a one-time thing. It's been happening for billions of years, and all that code is still here.
I just love this quote from the source paper. It completely reframes how we see our own planet. Earth isn't just a cradle where life was born, it's a cosmic hard drive. It's a library. For billions of years, bits and pieces of life from countless alien worlds have been raining down, each one depositing its own unique genetic solutions into Earth's biosphere.
So where is all this ancient alien code being stored? Well, the hypothesis points straight at what we used to call junk DNA. That's the 98% of our own genome that doesn't seem to code for anything. The idea is that this isn't junk at all. It's an archive. It's a vast library of dormant code from high-radiation worlds, deep-sea pressure worlds, maybe even worlds with totally different chemistry. The code is silenced because it's not needed here on Earth, but it's kept, creating this incredible hidden reservoir of exoplanetary adaptations.
I mean, that's an incredible theory, right? But how could you ever possibly prove it? Well, the paper proposes an experiment so ambitious, so audacious, they call it Project Genesis. The core idea is actually pretty simple. If all this alien code is just sitting dormant inside Earth's DNA, let's try to turn it back on. Let's put it back in an environment where it might actually be useful again.
The plan is basically a reverse panspermia mission. First, you do a shotgun harvest. You go to Earth's most extreme places, deep sea vents, Antarctic lakes, nuclear reactors, and you collect all the DNA you can find, junk DNA included. Step 2 is the critical bit. You convert that entire, fragile library of DNA into the super rugged, spacefaring PNA format, creating what they call a PNA dust. Then, step 3. You load that dust onto probes and send them out to inoculate other worlds right here in our own solar system. The first target? Venus. Not the hellish surface, but the upper cloud layers. Up there, the temperature and pressure are surprisingly Earth-like, but the environment is hyperacidic. A probe would release the PNA dust into the clouds. The theory is that if there are any dormant genes for surviving extreme acid hidden in Earth's DNA archive, this is the place where they might get switched back on.
Next stop, the subsurface oceans of Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's moon Enceladus. You send a probe to melt through the ice shells and release the PNA library into those dark, cold, high-pressure oceans. This would be a test for any legacy genes adapted for cryovacuum or high-pressure conditions, the exact kind of traits we see hints of in things like tardigrades.
And then there's the most radical test of all, Saturn's moon Titan. Titan has lakes and rivers, but they're made of liquid methane, not water. PNA is uniquely able to work in solvents like that, where DNA would just fall apart. If we release our PNA library into the methane lakes of Titan, and anything starts to replicate, well, that would prove the most mind-blowing idea of all, that our planet's genetic archive contains the code for life based on a completely different chemistry.
So how would we even know if it worked without risking bringing samples back to Earth? The probes would act as automated sentinels. They'd use fluorescent tags that light up only if the PNA starts copying itself. They'd use lasers to check for something called homochirality. If the molecules all suddenly have the same handedness, that's a dead giveaway for life. And finally, they'd actually sequence any new replicating code and just beam the data back home. We could literally watch our own ancient alien DNA come to life on another world.
And that's the ultimate takeaway here. If any of this is true, it completely changes our place in the cosmos. We'd no longer be just passive observers scanning the skies for aliens out there. We become active participants. We're the inheritors of this vast cosmic library, and maybe our job is to become the gardeners of the galaxy.
Which leaves us with this one, final, staggering thought. What if humanity's destiny isn't just to explore the stars, but to reseed them? To take this incredible genetic archive that Earth has collected for billions of years and return it to the cosmos, activating a backup of life itself. Are we simply the caretakers of an ancient alien library tasked with passing it on? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining me.